All right, welcome back to Patenadec Science Week 14. This is going to be our last science video, and it's going to be a little bit special because we're going to answer our question finally. And first, let's review our homework. So, question 1 says, if we use a very strong magnet, can copper metal have attraction or repulsion? And the answer is yes, it can, because it's a very, very, very strong magnet. The weak magnet doesn't, but the strong magnets do. Now, what about number 2? What uses magnets? A compass and a refrigerator. Does a gavel use compass? No. Does a hammer? No. And these two also do, but you don't see screwdriver or a stapler there. So the answer is refrigerator and compass. Okay? Are magnets important for electronics? Yes, they are. What metal can attract weak magnets? Gold, copper, nickel and iron. Okay? Number 5. What objects can stick to a magnet? Scissors, erasers, apples, or 1-baht coins? Scissors and 1-baht coins can, but erasers and apples can't because rubber and fruit is not magnetic. And finally, number 6, this is a poll question, so you don't have to get the right answer here. But what do you think about bullet trains? Are they going to use attraction or repulsion or both? In the last quizzes, we said maybe both. And we're going to find out that the answer is both right now in a special video. Here we go. Our special video is starting now. Let's watch.
What is a maglev train? The word maglev comes from the combination of magnet and levitation. Maglev trains take advantage of a physics principle that says two like magnetic poles will repel each other. For instance, the north pole of one magnet and the north pole of another magnet pointed at each other will push away from each other. But if we put a south magnetic pole and a north one together, they will attract. Maglev trains take advantage of both of these ideas, not only to provide levitation, but also propulsion. In order for the train to levitate, the two like poles are forced to repel each other like the magnets shown here. To provide propulsion, the train is outfitted with a north and south pole magnets along the sides. The track also has north and south pole magnets whose poles can be switched quickly. As the poles are switched, the train is attracted to and then repelled by the same magnet. The faster the poles switch, the faster the train goes. Now you may be asking yourself, why is all this necessary? We already have trains. Maglev trains offer one key advantage over typical rail and high-speed rail, and that is minimal resistance. Unlike other trains that must stay connected to the rail, maglev trains can float above the rail, only having to overcome air resistance. The only problem with maglev trains are that they are very expensive, costing between $50 and $200 million per mile. Compare that with a reported $82 million for high-speed rail and a meager $2.5 million for typical rail service. Maglev trains still may have a home if the Hyperloop ever takes off, but that's a video for a different time. If you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel or check out these.
Alright, so what did we learn from this video we just watched? That means that we do need both positive and negative. Okay, so I'll draw it with blue and red. We need positive and negative. We need both, and they switch. So the train can be also negative and positive, like this. So this is the train, and these are the sides. Okay. And by switching these quickly, the train is constantly forced to go forward because it's always being pulled at a very, very high speed. Okay? So that's how the trains move, and they use super strong magnets. Now, the new unit we're going to start today is the air around us. We learned a little bit about air last year. Now let's take a quick look about what it's made of. Air is made of many things, and it is very useful. But let's talk about it. In this picture, we have a little conversation. So let's read it together. Ready? I think... Oh, what's going on here? So we're going to go from top to bottom. Okay? So it's going to go from, look at that smog. What can we do to stop air pollution? I think it comes from the factory. Okay? So the smog, this word, is all of that smoke in the air, and it makes it harder to see very far away. And there's actually a very, very big problem in Thailand with smog, because in Chiang Mai and in Isan, a lot of farmers burn their fields to make them nice and clean. So every farm, or most farms in Thailand, burn their fields and to make them nice and clean, and that makes a lot of smoke. A lot of smoke and smog, and that makes the air really hard to breathe and smelly, and it's really bad for the environment also. So that's a big problem in Thailand, but there's also many countries that have a lot of smog for different reasons. For example, China has a lot of big factories and causes a lot of smog, and they have the most smog in the whole world because they make so many things in China. But there's one way we can stop some smog in Thailand, and that would be to stop burning fields and use different ways to clean the fields. Okay? But that's just something that we can talk about, and hopefully we can change it in the future. But for now, what can we do? Well, this says, do our daily activities cause air pollution? Yes, a little bit. For example, riding your motorbike to school or driving a car to school causes air pollution. And how that works is when you drive a car, okay, I'll draw a car here, or a motorbike. We have a motorbike here, okay, and it causes some smoke. And this is a car. And it causes smoke. Okay, so what happens is when there's cars and motorcycles, and we have a very, very hot, sunny day, the sun hits the smoke and makes really bad chemicals. And those chemicals we start to breathe in are really, really bad for our body. So very hot sun and smoke makes very dangerous chemicals that we can breathe. And that's how that works. Now, how can we stop or make less pollution? One way would be don't burn garbage, like we talked before. Don't burn garbage. And carpool. So go to school with your friends. Instead of taking 5 cars, put 5 people in one car. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. And that's mom or dad driving the car. Okay? So we can save a lot of cars and a lot of environment by sharing cars. Now, let's take a look at our vocabulary words. We have air, atmosphere, and pollution. Air, very simply, is what we breathe every day. It's all around us. No matter where we are, we have air. But what is air made of? Well, we're going to find out on page 115. What's inside air? It's all of these things. But what about the atmosphere? Well, the atmosphere, let's take a quick look at Earth. I'll make a quick drawing for you. We'll draw a big blue ball, and then we'll add some green here for the countries, because I'm a super good artist. And now we'll draw this circle around Earth. And there's a small little hole here where there's no atmosphere at all. And that it gets bigger and bigger every year if we have bad pollution. So air pollution is what happens when we have many factories around the world making lots of smoke. And when we have all of this pollution, it goes and attacks this hole, which is our atmosphere, and it makes it bigger and bigger every year. And it's a very big problem in the world right now for everyone. Because of this problem, there's going to be more and more radiation from the sun entering the earth, and melting the ice. So the ice in the North Pole is going to turn into more water. And the water is going to make all of the oceans get bigger and bigger. And that means maybe in 20 or 30 years, or something like that, or maybe 50 years, maybe even Bangkok or Gungtep is going to be underwater. And you're going to have Bangkok looking something like this. So this is why it's very important that we all work together and tell our leaders and our governments to stop air pollution now, so we can change the world and we can stop Bangkok from being underwater. Okay? That's just a short little explanation. We need to work together, the whole world, not only Thailand, not only China, not only America, but everyone in the world needs to work together. Now, components of the air. The Earth is surrounded by a mixture of gases called air, like we said. All of these things are air. There's nitrogen, N2. So remember, N was Newton, but N is also nitrogen when we're talking about chemistry. N is nitrogen, okay? So nitrogen, N2, is in our air that we breathe. And actually, while we need oxygen to breathe, most of air is actually nitrogen. And then there's also a little bit of other things like carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide comes from plants and cars. Let me change the color so we can read it better. It comes from plants and cars and factories Okay, so there's a lot of carbon dioxide in the air. And we can't breathe that, but there's only a little bit. And then we have just a little bit of other things, like hydrogen, argon, water vapor, and dust. So this 0.96% can come from pollution, and also water vapor. So if we have a very hot day, water vapor or steam. Water vapor or steam. Okay, so the water turns into a gas into the air and we can breathe it in. Okay, so just a little bit. But most of the air that we breathe is nitrogen, and oxygen. Okay, and that's because we have the Earth's atmosphere and the air is inside it, we can live here. And it's a very important thing. If we don't have the atmosphere, we can't live on Earth. Now, let's take a look at some ways we can use air. Well, number one is pretty simple. Take a look here. This person is blowing air into a balloon to expand it. So we can use air to make shapes of balloons or balloon animals. So how about balloon shapes or animals, or fill up a balloon? You can put anything you want there. Number two is, I think she's just breathing, so we're going to say breathing. And number three is filling up tires. So we can make these tires super full, and that way we can drive. So we put in so much air in the tire that we can drive. So make the tire full. Okay? Now, let's take a quick look here. We already went over this. Nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. This is just a short introduction. And I think next semester, your new teacher is going to begin with air, with this air unit. Okay? But I just wanted to introduce it to you before we leave. Now, I did want to say one thing before we finish our class. Like I was saying, if you want to continue to see me, you can subscribe to my channel here. And I'm going to be posting a lot of new videos about traveling all around Thailand. And in the future, I'm going to travel to more countries. So if you're interested to continue watching your teacher and continue seeing my videos, you can subscribe to the channel and you can see me anytime. In the future, you can even comment on my videos and I will reply to all of your comments. And it can help you practice writing in English, okay? So I will see you guys in the future, and I hope I can see you again as my students one day. Bye, guys.